Subscribe to the MTL World at Middle World 1 YouTube channel. Swallowed Star 2, Origin Continent. Volume 10, Breaking Through with Force. Chapter 367, A Step Forward. 5th of Volume 10. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the Origin Land, on the top of the towering peak of Xuanhuan Island, Luo Feng sat by the edge of the cliff, with a wine pot placed beside him. His eye of life and death, opened at his brow, allowed him to clearly observe the lives of the so-called invincible realm beings within Xuanhuan Island. He could also see that most of the places within Origin Land was quiet and peaceful. Peaceful. Serene. Luo Feng murmured as he looked out over the Origin Land. One could even call it absolutely safe. The Origin Land was originally a treasure land nurtured by the infinite Xuanhuan space, after being further refined and reinforced by multiple lords. Later, Lord Xingmeng relocated the Origin Land to this unique space-time, making it impossible for the Xuanhuan progenitors to locate it. On the contrary, the entire practitioner's territory was under full-scale attack. There was even rumors about the fall of another world cluster, the Jade River Yuhate World Cluster. In the Origin Land, it is difficult for practitioners within the cage to verify the news of the fall of a world cluster. But every loss spread rapidly among the world-level Xuanhuan beings and high-level Xuanhuan beings. After all, every world cluster required a vast number of high-level Xuanhuan lifeforms to guard it. The deaths of their clones could not be concealed at all. The practitioners' faction once governed as many as 3,600 world clusters. Luo Feng knew, however, that this was merely nominal control. Many of the border regions had always been under attack by the innate Xuanhuan lifeform faction. Places like the Dark Holy Realm, located in the core territories, remained relatively safe, but the border world clusters were falling one after another. Now, there are only 2,122 remaining world clusters. Of course, during this process, the practitioner faction has also counter-killed 3 Xuanhuan progenitors, numerous world-level Xuanhuan lifeforms, and countless high-level Xuanhuan beings. Luo Feng pondered. But the situation is clear: the innate Xuanhuan lifeform faction is willing to suffer heavy losses to deal devastating blows. As Lord Yuan had said, the worst outcome would be the complete fall of all territories. Luo Feng understood. The 7 lords had no means to reverse the situation. After all, the enemy faction's overall strength was overwhelming. From what he had heard, the innate Xuanhuan lifeform faction was so vast that even now, with most of their forces mobilized for war, some remained uninvolved, with certain Xuanhuan progenitors unwilling to participate. Will my homeland, the Origin world, fall too? Luo Feng had just emerged from his first seclusion in the Origin Land, only to learn of the Jade River World Cluster's fall. Of course, he was not in a good mood. He worried for his homeland, for his loved ones, his closest friends, and the human race there. So many weak and innocent lives. If the world cluster fell and the Origin world shattered, all living beings would face annihilation. Even if there were evacuation plans, transporting them from the Origin world to the distant Origin Land was a long and perilous journey. And the Origin Land had limited space. How many could he truly save? The birth of a new world-level Xuanhuan being holds no significance in this war between the two factions. Only the rise of a lord can shift the tides. Luo Feng reflected. To become a lord. His first seclusion had yielded immense gains, yet compared to the lords, he remained incomparably distant. This seclusion was his longest yet, spanning over 3.7 million epochs. Of that, Luo Feng comprehended over 56.03 million low-level Xuanhuan bloodlines, which took roughly 900,000 epochs. Comprehending more than 320,000 high-level Xuanhuan bloodlines consumed over 200,000 epochs. In total, over 3.7 million epochs had passed, though thanks to the time acceleration of a millionfold within his cave residence's chamber, only a little over 3 epochs had elapsed in the outside world. The external time might have been short, but Luo Feng's spiritual will and consciousness were weary, prompting him to take a break and admire the scenery of the Origin Land. Lord Xingmeng broke through with sheer force after an unfathomably long years. What is my mere cultivation time in comparison? Learning of the Jade River World Cluster's fall, Luo Feng felt only a burning resolve. Rising to his feet, he returned to his cave residence's chamber. Inside, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, the void-severing blade planted into the ground beside him. The observational power of the Origin Land allowed him to project over 80% of the blade's profound mysteries, fully manifesting them within the chamber. I can now grasp part of the void-severing blade's profound mysteries. My current accumulation is 10, even 100 times greater than before my ascension. Luo Feng could feel his progress. After all, the bloodlines he studied were all aligned with life, destruction, or the balance of both. His comprehension of life and destruction had grown exponentially. Even his spiritual will consciousness system had advanced rapidly. Among the 320,000 plus high-level Hunyuan bloodlines he deciphered, over 10,000 contained insights into spiritual will consciousness system. His spiritual willpower had undergone a qualitative transformation, now at least 10 times stronger than before his ascension. Though his physical body and soul had yet to break free from the cage, his spiritual will alone already ranked among the pinnacle of high-level Hunyuan lifeforms. Most crucially, he had newly comprehended the Hunyuan power system, the greatest harvest of his first seclusion, in Luo Feng's own estimation. All things, all lives in the infinite Hunyuan space, originates from Hunyuan power. Hunyuan power is the source of everything. By deciphering countless low-level and high-level Hunyuan bloodlines, Luo Feng gradually grasped their commonality. Their origin lay in Hunyuan power. Without Hunyuan power, all life would perish. If I seek to forge the most colossal and powerful life form, the Hunyuan power system is indispensable. Luo Feng had already begun constructing this system. Even the weakest low-level Hunyuan lifeforms could absorb Hunyuan power. His framework for the Hunyuan power system continued to expand. Now, he is beginning to comprehend world-level Hunyuan bloodlines. Among the 30,000 world-level Hunyuan bloodlines, those aligned with life, destruction, or the balance of both numbered 2,729 in total. As always, he employed the frugal comprehension method, his tried-and-true approach to comprehension. Luo Feng selected one world-level Hunyuan bloodline and began deciphering its corresponding 12 materials: dark blue scales, fangs, blood, and other remnants. Understanding the essence of a world-level Hunyuan lifeform proved far more difficult than anticipated. From the outset, Luo Feng was met with countless mysteries. Yet, he remained patient, steadily unraveling each layer of complexity. But after 500,000 epochs, Luo Feng could only stare blankly at the materials before him. I can't fully grasp this, let alone reconstruct its secret patterns. Frustration gnawed at him. Over these long years of comprehension, he had exhausted every conceivable method, yet the enigmatic patterns within these materials remained largely inscrutable. There was simply too much he didn't understand. Even if he spent 100 times longer time comprehending it, he doubted he could resolve even half of the mysteries. I can't afford to waste any more time. Luo Feng frowned. According to his cultivation plan, comprehending world-level Hunyuan bloodlines was merely a small step in the cultivation, and he cannot be stuck at this step. I need to adjust my approach of comprehending the world-level Hunyuan bloodlines a little bit. Start with the easier ones first and then move on to the difficult ones. I will first select the one that is more compatible with me from among the 2,729 world-level Hunyuan bloodlines. Previously, he had been overconfident. Having fully deciphered every low-level and high-level Hunyuan bloodline aligned with life or destruction, he had assumed he could conquer all world-level ones with equal ease. But reality had humbled him. The very first attempt had brought him to a standstill. After a preliminary analysis, 73 of these bloodlines show moderate compatibility with my own insights. A cursory assessment revealed he could grasp 30–40% of their mysteries at a glance, a clear sign they aligned well with his path. Let's begin. Luo Feng selected the most compatible one first, the remains of a world-level Hunyuan lifeform known as the Star-Sea Xingyuan Demon Lord. This time, progress was far smoother. In under 100,000 epochs, Luo Feng had thoroughly analyzed the materials, successfully reconstructing their secret patterns. The comparison with the Hunyuan bloodlines also went smoothly. Luo Feng achieved a comprehension rate exceeding 70% for the Star-Sea Demon Lord's lineage. The Star-Sea Demon Lord's bloodline is 75% aligned with destruction, and I've nearly grasped all of it. A faint smile tugged at his lips. Finally, he had deciphered a world-level Hunyuan bloodline. At the very least, this breakthrough meant he could immediately ascend to the world-level Hunyuan realm if he chose. If he opted for bloodline assimilation, reaching the perfection stage of world level would be trivial. But my goal is to break through by sheer force. Thus, Luo Feng turned to the second world-level Hunyuan bloodline. Since he was now proceeding from easiest to hardest, each subsequent bloodline grew more challenging, demanding ever more time. By the time Luo Feng had fully deciphered 15 of the 73 compatible bloodlines, his second seclusion had spanned nearly 10 million epochs. Yet even among these, only 15 had reached a comprehension rate above 70%. However, for practitioners, refining bloodlines came at a steep cost: soul contamination and memory pollution. The fewer bloodlines one refined, and the higher the comprehension rate, the better. Theoretically, Luo Feng could now assimilate all 15 bloodlines, granting him unrivaled power at the world level. But doing so would flood his consciousness with foreign wills and memories, irreversibly warping his own path. His chances of comprehending a Hunyuan Dao would be reduced to near zero. In the origin land, Lord Yuan sat beside a tranquil lake, fishing in solitude. A report arrived. Luo Feng has deciphered his 15th world-level Hunyuan bloodline. The origin land kept close watch on all promising practitioners who had yet to break free from the cage. Every minor breakthrough Luo Feng made within his chamber was meticulously recorded. Deciphering high-level Hunyuan bloodlines beyond 70%. Not worth reporting. But world-level bloodlines above 70%. Each one was duly noted. 15 already. Lord Yuan continued fishing, unfazed. Most fusion path practitioners who chose bloodline assimilation could decipher several such bloodlines. Among them, half could even decipher over a dozen. Luo Feng's actual seclusion lasted only 10 million epochs, which is relatively short. But only comprehending 15 is hardly remarkable. Lord Yuan remained utterly indifferent, not the slightest flicker of surprise crossing his expression. Luo Feng's progress still fell far short of what was needed to become a lord. Blank, __________. End of chapter. Subscribe to MTL World at Middle World 1 YouTube channel.